No one expected a war to begin on a quiet mining planet, especially not Thomas Hale. He was just a human engineer, sent to work at an alien-human joint operation called Outpost Zeta-9, a dusty industrial zone at the edge of the galaxy. His job? Keep the power flowing, fix machines, report to the alien command center. But things were never simple when she was involved. Her name was Kera'Val, a tall and fierce alien from the Varnyx race. Strong, beautiful, deadly, and Thomas's work partner. For the last 6 months she rarely spoke, she never smiled, but she always showed up, and always watched him too closely. They worked side by side, repairing energy coils and recalibrating plasma engines. Thomas tried to stay professional, but something about her, those glowing violet eyes, that sharp voice, and the way she moved, was just too intense. And then, he made a mistake. It started with a joke. Thomas leaned over a sparking console and casually said, "Back on Earth, I used to work with a girl who could fix this kind of unit in half the time. Sharp mind." And she laughed at my jokes. Kera'Val froze, her eyes locked onto his. He looked up, confused. "What? I just meant crash." Her metal fist smashed the control panel beside him. Sparks exploded. Alarms screamed. The screen shattered in front of his face. Thomas stumbled back. "What the hell?" Her voice trembled with rage. "Do not speak of other females." He blinked. "Wait, that's what this is about?" But before he could say more, the base lights went red. An emergency siren echoed through the halls, warning, unauthorized activity detected, outer gate breach. Both turned to the screen, what was left of it. Troop carriers were landing, not human, not Varnyx. Unknown symbols. Thomas looked at her. "You think I caused that?" She didn't answer. Instead, she grabbed her blade from the wall, activated her gauntlet, and stormed toward the exit. "Follow me," she ordered. Still stunned, Thomas jogged after her. "Seriously, can we go back to the part where you punched my workstation because I mentioned a girl?" "I don't care about your female," she snapped, "but you are mine to guard." "What?" Kira turned, eyes blazing. "You are under my work bond. You belong to my team. No outside females, not in words, not in thoughts." Thomas blinked. "You know that sounds crazy, right?" She didn't respond. Instead, they reached the security deck. Chaos was already unfolding. Unknown soldiers in dark armor moving through the base, taking over systems and firing at both humans and aliens. Thomas ducked behind a console. "Who are they?" Kera'Val narrowed her eyes. "They are neither human nor Varnyx. They want this station. We're in their way." Gunfire erupted in the hall behind them. Kira pulled him by the collar into a side chamber. She locked the door, then faced him. "You talk too much," she said. "You hit too hard," he replied. They stared at each other, breathing heavy. She growled. "I should not feel anything when you talk about another female, but I do." Thomas's mouth opened, then closed. Before he could respond, the door behind them exploded open. They were no longer alone. The door exploded with a deafening boom. Shards of metal flew across the room as smoke filled the air. Thomas hit the floor. His ears rang. He couldn't see anything. But Kera'Val didn't flinch. The alien warrior stood tall, her gauntlet glowing. Her sharp violet eyes narrowed as two intruders stepped through the smoke. Dark armor, glowing. Red visors, weapons raised. "Mercenaries," she said quietly. "Not from any known world." One of them shouted, "Step aside, Varnyx. The human comes with us." Thomas's heart dropped. "They came for me." Kira didn't move. "He's under my protection. You'll die protecting him," she smiled. "Try me." Before they could react, Kira leapt forward like lightning. Her fist struck the first merc's chest. Metal cracked, armor shattered. He flew backward into the wall. The second fired. But she twisted midair, rolled, and struck again. His helmet cracked in two before he hit the ground. Thomas stared in shock. Remind me never to make you mad again. Kira turned toward him. Her breathing was sharp. Her armor sparkled from the heat of the fight. She looked furious, but not at the enemies, at him. You still think I reacted because of jealousy? Thomas stood slowly. Well, yeah. I mentioned another woman. You broke a console. Kira stepped closer. You insulted me. I didn't mean to. You compare me to someone who laughs, who is soft. I am not soft. Thomas paused. No, you're not. But maybe that's why you're still alive. And I'm still alive. Her eyes met his. For a moment, the tension in the room changed. No fire, no fear, just silence, emotion, a question left unsaid. Then more shots rang out in the hall. Kira turned away. We move. Follow me. They ran through the halls of the outpost. Smoke, fire, and screams filled the air. Human and Varnyx alike were fighting the intruders, who seemed to know the base layout far too well. This wasn't random, Thomas said, ducking behind a support beam. They knew exactly where to strike. Kira nodded. They knew you would be here. He looked at her. But I'm just an engineer. You were assigned to decode Varnyx tech, she said. And you did it better than any of your kind. Maybe someone doesn't want you working with us anymore. Great, he muttered. So now I have unknown killers, a jealous alien co-worker, and a control panel bill I can't afford. She turned and gave him a small, sharp smirk. You're still talking too much. And you still haven't apologized for punching that screen. Suddenly an explosion shook the hallway. They were knocked to the floor. When the smoke cleared, Thomas groaned. His arm hurt, his ears rang, but he was still breathing, and Kira was on top of him, pinning him down, shielding him with her body. His face flushed. This isn't helping the jealousy theory. She didn't move, didn't blink. Stop making jokes, Thomas, she said, or next time I'll slam you into the control panel. Then she stood and offered him a hand. He took it. Behind them, the corridor burned. Ahead of them, the escape doors flickered, and somewhere in the chaos, someone wanted Thomas dead. The hallway was falling apart. Fires burned on the walls, lights flickered, smoke filled every corner of the outpost. Thomas ran behind Kera'Val, coughing, trying not to trip over debris. Her steps were fast and confident. Every time he looked back, he saw more shadows, more of those strange, silent mercenaries moving through the chaos like ghosts. Where are we going? He shouted. The emergency hangar, Kira replied. There's a small transport ship. There. And you're just now telling me this? You never asked. Thomas muttered. Great communication skills. They reached a sealed blast door. Kira placed her hand on a glowing pad. Nothing happened. She growled. System override. Is offline. Let me try. Thomas stepped up, wiped soot from the panel, and started working. Kira stood close behind him, watching silently, too silently. Finally, he spoke. So, do you always smash expensive equipment when someone mentions another woman? She didn't answer. He sighed. You're seriously not going to talk about it? I warned you, she said softly. Warned. Me what? Not to mention other females. He turned around. Her eyes weren't angry now, they looked hurt. Kira, he said gently, you can't get mad every time I talk about someone else. That's not how teammates work. Her voice dropped. We are not just teammates. Thomas froze. The door beeped. The lock released. The panel slid, open behind him, but he didn't move. What do you mean by that? Kira turned her face away. Varnyx bonding is different. When we fight beside someone, protect them, share meals, speak openly, it begins to mean something. To you, to my kind, and yes, to me. Thomas's heart thumped. And when I mentioned someone else, you pushed me out, she said, as if I was nothing. He stared at her all this time. He thought she was just being cold, harsh, violent. But maybe it was something else. Maybe she didn't understand human rules of flirting or friendship. Maybe she only knew how to fight and protect, and didn't know what to do with her own feelings. Before he could say anything, the sound of boots echoed behind them. "More mercs." "Kira," he said. "We have to go." She nodded, her voice now steady. "Get in the ship, I'll cover you." Thomas ran inside. The hangar was wide open to the night sky, stars above, fires below. Kira stepped into the doorway, aimed her gauntlet, and fired a sonic blast that shook the metal around them. The mercs dove for cover. She slammed the door shut behind her and sealed it from the inside. Thomas jumped into the pilot seat. "You trust me to fly this?" "No, but I don't trust anyone else either." He smiled. "Now that sounds more like you." The ship lifted off just as more mercs entered the hangar. Laser fire hit the hull. Thomas yanked the throttle. The ship soared into the sky. Behind them, the outpost grew smaller. The fires burned brighter. Inside the cockpit, it was quiet. Kira stood behind him, hands on the seat, breathing slow. "You saved my life," Thomas said softly. "I told you," she replied. "You are under my protection." He turned slightly. "Is that all?" She hesitated. "No," she said. "It's not." The stars looked peaceful, but Thomas knew peace was a lie right now. He sat in the pilot seat of the stolen Varnyx scout ship, guiding it through asteroid fields. His hands were tight on the controls, but his mind wasn't focused on flying. It was focused on her. Kera'Val sat behind him, silent as always. But now the silence felt heavy. She wasn't angry. She wasn't threatening. She wasn't even watching the radar. She was just staring out the window. Thomas finally spoke. "So, that bond thing you mentioned, what is it really?" Kira's voice was low. "It is something we don't speak of unless it becomes real." "And what does real mean for you?" She looked at him. "It means I would rather die next to you than live without you." Thomas nearly choked. "That's serious." "It is." He turned back to the controls. "So when I mentioned that girl from Earth, you insulted the bond," she said firmly, "even if you didn't know." Thomas exhaled slowly. "Well, no one handed me a rule book when I landed." "I should have told you," Kira admitted. "But I didn't expect to feel this way. Not about a human. Not about you." Thomas looked over his shoulder. Her face was calm now, but her hands trembled slightly. He stood up from the pilot seat. She stood too. They were close again. Closer than ever. "Tell me the truth," he said softly. "Is this about protection or something else?" Her violet eyes locked onto his. "I don't want you to look at anyone else," she whispered. "Because I already see you as mine." Before Thomas could answer, alert, target lock detected. The red light flashed above them. A ship had found them. Kira moved instantly, back in soldier mode. She ran to the weapons console. Unknown fighter, fast, armed, not Varnyx or human. "They followed us." Thomas jumped into the pilot seat. "They've got a lock. Can we outrun them?" "No," she said, strapping in. "We fight." Perfect. Just what I needed during my first alien relationship crisis. The enemy ship fired. 2 plasma bolts streaked past them. Kira responded with a precision blast. "Less talking, more flying." The chase began. The scout ship twisted between rocks, dodging fire. Kira returned shots while Thomas pushed the engines to their limit. "Can you hit their engine?" Thomas shouted. "I can," she said, narrowing her eyes. "But I need a clean line." Thomas spun the ship in a tight roll, then leveled. "Now!" Kira fired. The blast hit. The enemy ship spiraled, flaming, then vanished behind an asteroid. Silence returned. Only their breathing filled the ship. Kira looked at him from her seat. "You flew well," she said. "You shot better." They sat in silence for a long moment. Finally, Thomas spoke. "When this is over, and we're not being hunted, maybe you could tell me how that bond Thing really works, step by step. Kira smiled, actually smiled. I'd like that. And for the first time since the outpost exploded, Thomas felt something besides fear. He felt something that might just survive a war. To be continued. Next, Part 5. Confessions in Orbit. Alone in space, the two finally let down their guards, but when a signal from Earth comes through, everything changes. The stars drifted quietly outside the ship. No alarms, no enemies, no explosions. Just silence. Thomas sat on the edge of a storage crate in the back of the ship, unstrapping his boots. His arm was still sore from earlier, but at least they had time to breathe now. Kera'Val sat across from him, still in full armor, watching him closely but not with anger, with something gentler. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Then Thomas finally said, "Back on Earth, people go out for dinner or walk by the ocean when they feel connected." Kira raised an eyebrow. "We fight side by side, save each other from death. Is that not connection enough?" Thomas laughed softly. "That's one way to put it." She leaned forward slightly. "Do you still think about that girl? The one you mentioned?" Thomas shook his head. "No, I only said it to break the silence. I never thought it would make you break the wall." Kira smirked. "You deserved it." "Yeah," he admitted. "I kinda did." He paused, looking at her carefully. "But I meant what I said earlier. I don't want to make you feel second to anyone. You've risked your life for me more than once. That means something." Kira looked away for a moment, then back into his eyes. "I was not trained to feel this," she whispered. "But now it's there, and I don't want to remove it." Thomas stood, slowly walked over and sat beside her. Their shoulders touched. It was a small thing, but powerful. He didn't speak. Neither did she. They just sat, quietly orbiting a broken world below them, sharing something without words. Suddenly, beep! The communication console lit up. Kira rushed over and tapped it. "Incoming transmission, Earth Military Command." Thomas stood beside her. "They found us." "No, they're answering a beacon I activated after we escaped." The screen flickered. A commander's face appeared. Gray uniform, sharp eyes, tense expression. "Thomas Hale. This is Command Captain Rourke. You're listed as missing since the Outpost Zeta 9 incident." "Still alive," Thomas replied. "Barely. We picked up your ship's signature. We also know about the Varnyx warrior beside you. Are you safe?" Thomas glanced at Kira. "I'm not just safe, I'm standing next to the only reason I'm still alive." The captain's face didn't move. "Understood. New orders. You're to return to Earth immediately, alone." Thomas blinked. "Alone?" "She is not authorized for human territory. You will comply." Kira's jaw tightened. Thomas took a deep breath. "Request denied." The commander frowned. "Excuse me. She's coming with me. She protected me. She knows who attacked the outpost. And she's not just my bodyguard. She's my partner." Silence. Then the commander leaned forward. "Understood. But if she sets foot on Earth, her actions will be your responsibility." Thomas didn't hesitate. "They already are." The transmission ended. Kira turned to him. "You did not have to do that." "Yeah, I did," Thomas said. "I'm not leaving you behind." She stared at him for a long moment, then slowly reached up and touched his face. Not rough, not armored, just a soft hand on his cheek. "I think I would like to try this Earth bonding thing," she said. He smiled. "Me too." Above them, the stars kept spinning. But inside that small ship, something new had started. Something stronger than fear. Something more dangerous than war. Something worth fighting for. Earth looked peaceful from orbit. Blue oceans, white clouds, green lands. It almost made Thomas forget how much chaos was waiting below. He sat in the co-pilot seat as their small Varnyx scout ship entered Earth's atmosphere. Beside him, Kera'Val was tense. Her hand gripped the armrest tighter than necessary. "Still time to turn around," Thomas said jokingly. "I'm not afraid," Kira replied. "You look like you're ready to punch the planet." She didn't smile. "I'm ready to defend myself. I don't know how your people treat outsiders." Thomas looked at her. "Then let them treat you how I do." She glanced at him. "And how is that?" He smiled. "Like someone who matters." The ship touched down on a military landing pad just outside New Geneva Base, Earth's largest tech military center. As the engines powered down, armed guards in black armor approached, weapons drawn. Not fired, just ready. "Stay close," Thomas whispered. The door opened, sunlight poured in. Thomas stepped out first, hands raised. "Easy. She's with me." Kira followed. Her armor shimmered in the sunlight, clean but scarred. She stood tall, proud, unmoved by the soldiers pointing weapons at her. A voice called, "Out! Lower your weapons!" A man in a sleek officer's coat stepped forward. Captain Rourke, the same one from the transmission. He looked at Kira with suspicion. "So you're the Varnyx warrior who caused a diplomatic nightmare." Kira stared him down. "I saved your engineer." Rourke nodded at Thomas. "We'll debrief you, separately." Thomas stood firm. "We stay together." Rourke narrowed his eyes. "You're not in command here, Hale." "No," Thomas said. "But I was there. She didn't just fight to survive. She fought for me. We need her." After a tense pause, Rourke waved his hand. "Fine. But any wrong move and she's off this planet." Kira stepped beside Thomas, her voice quiet. "Your world is less welcoming than I imagined." "You've seen the worst of us," Thomas replied, "but not the best yet." They were taken to a private lab facility beneath the base. Clean, white walls, bright lights, armed cameras in every corner. Kira paced the room while Thomas explained everything to a panel of commanders. What happened at the outpost, the unknown attackers, the bond they'd formed. After hours of questions, Thomas was finally left alone with her. "You okay?" he asked. "I do not like being watched," Kira growled. "I feel like a creature in a cage." He stepped closer. "Then let's get out of here. We can't stay in this facility forever." "I agree." Just then, the wall screen lit up with a warning. "Alert. Unauthorized ship entering Earth orbit. Kara's eyes widened. "The mercenaries, they followed us." Thomas's heart pounded. "They're not done with us yet," a voice echoed from the hallway. "Both of you, prepare for immediate transfer to a secure shelter." But Thomas knew what that meant: separation, isolation, silence. He looked at Kira. "No, we're done hiding." He grabbed her hand. She didn't pull away. "I'm going with you," he said. "Wherever this goes next, I'm staying." She looked into his eyes. Then we faced them together. Alarms echoed through the underground facility. Red lights flashed, doors sealed. Soldiers rushed through the halls with weapons ready. Thomas stood beside Kera'Val in the center of the room as orders shouted from the intercom. "Unknown enemy ship approaching. All personnel to lockdown positions. Prepare for breach." Kira turned to him. "It's them." Thomas nodded. "They came to finish what they started." Kira stepped forward, raising her gauntlet. "Then I will finish them first." Before anyone could stop her, Kira slammed the door controls, opening the sealed blast doors. "What are you doing?" Thomas asked. She glanced back at him. "Protecting what's mine." The enemy ship tore through the atmosphere and crashed into the outer defense ring. Black-armored mercenaries stormed the base, fast, silent, efficient. They weren't here for war. They were here for one thing: Thomas. The facility guards tried to hold them off, but the mercs advanced with brutal precision. Kira didn't wait for orders. She sprinted toward them with speed that left Earth soldiers stunned. One mercenary aimed a shock cannon at Thomas. Kira intercepted it, tackling him to the ground. She disarmed another with a spinning kick. Then another fell to her elbow strike. Blood and sparks flew, but she didn't stop. "She's fighting the whole squad," someone yelled. Thomas tried to rush forward to help, but Earth soldiers held him back. "She's outnumbered," an officer shouted. "No," Thomas said firmly. "They're outmatched." Kira's movements were like lightning, fast, precise, deadly. She fought not just with training, but with emotion. They had attacked her bond. They had come for him after what felt like forever. The last merc fell. Smoke filled the corridor. Kira stood in the middle of the wreckage, chest rising and falling. Her armor was cracked. Her lip was bleeding. But she was still standing. Thomas broke free of the guards and ran to her. "You okay?" he asked. "I've been hit harder," she muttered, wiping blood from her mouth. "You saved the base." "I didn't care about the base," she said, locking eyes with him. "I cared about you." He stared at her for a long moment. Then, in front of the shocked soldiers and stunned officers, he stepped forward and kissed her. No one said a word. She didn't stop him. When the kiss ended, she whispered, "Your people won't accept this. Then they'll have to learn," Thomas replied. Captain Rourke finally stepped forward. He looked at the damage, the unconscious enemies, the human, and the alien. He sighed. "You two just rewrote Earth's interspecies code." Kira raised an eyebrow. "Good. It was outdated anyway." 1 week later, Kira stood beside Thomas on a balcony overlooking the sea. They had been cleared of all charges, and the Varnyx Council sent a message of peace and recognition. Earth's leaders couldn't argue with results. "You really stayed," Kira said softly. "I meant it when I said I wasn't leaving you behind." She took his hand. "No one's ever done that for me before." Thomas smiled. "Get used to." The wind blew gently through her silver hair. Down below, Earth and Varnyx workers repaired the burned-out base together, side by side. A new alliance had begun, but up here, above the noise of politics and war, a human and an alien stood, close, no longer enemies, no longer strangers, just bonded.